See, I'm hearing different. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor, Russ Stevens, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and he's JP's first son, Tim Hoey. Well, we have another great show for you tonight, so boys, let's get it started. We're trying to figure out the whole Mookie Betts deal, but of course, that's the lead story here in Boston, is that, and I don't think I'm not surprised at all, having spent the last few months in Los Angeles. The Dodgers needed to sign Mookie Betts. They didn't want to give up prospects and not retain a big star. They had the money. They got it done. It was a good deal for both the Dodgers and Mookie Betts.
God, I just looked it up. It's 12 years, $365 million.
Yeah, right.
So how old is he right now?
Mookie Betts, what is he, 28 years old?
He might not even be that old, Scotty.
Yeah. Look, so it's around $30 million per year. When you started talking, he ultimately, the pandemic did cost him a lot of money, Mookie Betts, per year. Because I think that had he gone to free agency, we would have been thinking more, like Russ said, between 35 and 40. Would you agree?
And do you think there would have been people out there willing to give him a 12-year contract?
I think it would just been most likely
the Dodgers competing with themselves.
The Dodgers giving him just a greater amount in the off season, because I just can't see the Dodgers losing Mookie Betts, and they didn't do it.
I mean,
they couldn't come away from that trade empty-handed.
No.
They're a desperate team, right? They've had a top team for 5 years, and they haven't won a World Series. I mean, that team has to win a World Series, or this era is a massive disappointment for the Dodgers. So this reeks of, big market, not desperation, but knowing that they're going to be considered a failure unless they win a World Series with this team.
Yeah, like the 2003 Red Sox. They've got to keep feeding the monster.
All right, so guys, are we to believe that the pandemic drove Mookie Betts to, and the new economics of baseball, we don't even really know what that is, drove him to the bargaining table, or was he just full of shit the whole time and he just wanted out of Boston?
I don't think he wanted out of Boston. I think he was going to go to the highest bidder, and clearly the market changed a little bit. And did he max out? No, but that's a massive contract. I mean,
remember, it's all guaranteed. That's guaranteed money.
It's the biggest guaranteed contract in baseball history, right?
Bigger than any contract.
That's right. We get the best contract in the history of sports.
Wasn't $40 million a year being bantered about last year, though?
Yeah, but that all it takes is one. But this was the one.
Well, yeah, I think ultimately Mookie Betts sacrificed years, meaning gave up a lot more years to get the amount that he wanted, and ultimately he's going to be happy with that. Obviously, he's going to be very happy with the ultimate total amount of the contract.
Think of that figure: almost $100 million, over $250 million. It's staggering.
Oh, yeah. By the time his career is over, we will have made almost a $500 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Good for him. If he can get it.
With the B.
And he's a very nice player. He's a superstar in the current climate. But 5 years from now, it'll be very interesting to see if we're talking Mookie Betts is one of the top 5 players in Major League.
Well, one thing they knew about him: he was not going to be a troublemaker. He was not going to be a social embarrassment from any perspective. They had that going for them.
He's a great offensive player. He's a great defensive player. He's great in the clubhouse. He's a self-made player. He's right there with Trout. I mean, Trout's number 1, but in Mookie's clearly number 2. But there's nobody better than Mookie other than Trout in Major League Baseball year after year.
Well, Mookie has been going 1 year great, 1 year kind of mediocre, 1 year great, 1 year kind of mediocre. He has not been putting great, staggering numbers every year together, though.
Well, I compare this to Manny Ramirez. We signed Manny Ramirez to an 8-year deal. Took him
all
away,
8 were good.
Took away from the Cleveland Indians in his prime. We won 2 World Series with Manny Ramirez as a key contributor. Big stars like this in their prime.
Yeah, look, he he's 27 years old, which means he's got probably 7 to 8 years of prime years.
Yeah, right.
Right. And they basically are going to suck up the last 5 or 6 for the ability to get 8 of his prime years. I mean, his top prime years, they're going to pay the price on the back end of that contract.
If the
And
Dodgers,
he might not even get that much, as we've discussed before, being a slight build, he might not hold up to the 162 games a year for as long as some of the others.
look, the Dodgers' expectations are that they're going to win 2 World Series titles with Mookie Betts. That's what they want. They just don't want 1; they want 2.
Yeah, they want at least 2 World Series, and that's why they paid him this money.
Yeah, and if they get that, no matter what the length of the contract after that, look, we're going to be paying Dustin Pedroia, it seems, to the end of time anyways. We pay the Pablo Sandoval's and...
Didn't the Red Sox offer him about the same back before the season started?
I don't think
10 years, 350?
I don't think so, Joe. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think it was this many years at this much money.
I think the rumors were that it was $300 million for 10 years or something like that. That's what I heard. Look, if the Red Sox knew this is what could have got done, I think they would have gotten it done at this time. But they didn't know the pandemic was coming. They couldn't see in the future. They didn't want to commit to Mookie Betts, simple enough.
Well, I think the Red Sox have learned the hard way that a lot of these big giant contracts never work out really.
I can only think of Scherzer and Manny are the only 2 that worked out the length of the contract.
Right, but okay, at 300, whatever price he got, would you want the Red Sox to have signed Mookie Betts for the deal that he received by the Dodgers?
Since I'm not a season ticket holder anymore and they can't jack my prices up, why not? It's not a salary cap sport, right?
Yeah. Right.
Let Nesson pay for it.
Right, let Nesson pay for it.
Look, we want as many stars in Boston as possible, and Mookie Betts is a star.
If I was high in bloom when I signed him, I probably wouldn't have. I think there's a lot of risk that the major league team is taking with this contract. They know that the last 4 or 5 years of this contract are going to be probably pretty bad.
Russell, I agree with you completely. Like we talked about just 2 minutes ago, you can count on one hand the amount of these contracts that have really worked out.
I know, but still, look, I want Mookie Betts on the Boston Red Sox. He's a homegrown talent. We're going to miss him a lot. You don't replace a guy like that. And, obviously the Red Sox are a worse team because of it. All right, guys, we go to the current team. There are 2 pitchers I was excited of watching pitch. And both of them got COVID-19, and Erod and Hernandez. Already, the Red Sox are starting behind the 8 ball as the season starts on Friday against the Orioles.
Yeah, I've been pretty down on the team, but I have to say, I watched that game last night, and I got kind of excited for the season. It was just nice to have baseball, right? It was nice to have.
Yeah.
It was nice to be rooting for these guys. It was good to see some of these new players, Verdugo. I thought the kid pitched, Weber pitched pretty well.
I thought he pitched
6 innings.
He's crafty little righty and just got sneaking up on guys. So look, I don't think they're going to be good. I don't even know that they're going to be very good, but I was pretty happy to have it on last night.
I thought that was pretty funny, though, in the first inning, though, when they all ran off the field after 2 outs.
Yeah.
Just they followed the pitcher because he was done with his pitch count.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting that they were able to recreate the buzz, just the average sound of a game when people just talking. And I immediately turned it on and I'm like, wow, they nailed that. Right. I mean, it sounded like
din of the crowd. It was like the din of a mid-inning when nothing really was going on.
Yeah, the white noise of the crowd behind.
Now, I didn't know. Did they have cheering when there was a hit?
Muffled.
Yes, but
it wasn't like it wasn't like a noticeable spike, Timmy. It was a little increase, but they didn't go overboard with it.
And it wasn't timed really well either.
No.
So is Ron Rennicki, is this a tryout for Ron Rennicki, or is he just a 60-game manager and then he's done?
Well, you're gonna bring up the Alex Cora topic.
No, I'm not going to bring up Alex.
No, he's going to
I-
bring up Veritek sitting in the
I think they're
dugout.
related. I think they're very much related. I think if they could get Cora back, they probably would, and that means he's a rental.
Yeah, he just feels like a rental to me.
Well, I guess he would just go back to being like the bench coach.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably keep his salary.
I don't know if I didn't time it or whatever. The game seemed to move along more quickly last night. The pace of the game. I don't know if the total time of the game was any better, but it just seemed like it was moving faster. Pitchers weren't taking as much time. Batters weren't taking as much time. If that's an impact of this, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah.
Red Sox. The Dodgers signed Mookie Betts to a long-term deal, and the Red Sox signed Dylan Covey, who was one of the worst pitchers in baseball last year. I mean, do they even care about the PR right now? This is a team with a huge payroll, but yet there's not a lot of guys to be excited about. What's the future look like for the Red Sox?
I don't know half that pitching staff. That pitching staff is a bunch of no names.
Yeah, but I disagree with this, Scotty. We do have some names on this team. We have our shortstop. We have our third base. We have our left fielder. I forgot what this lineup looked like, and they
It's
started
a great lineup.
going through the lineup. It's a pretty solid lineup.
Well, Devers looks like he ate Pablo Sandoval. That's how big he looks right now. Everyone, you can't say that Rafael
And he's
Devers
batting
is
second.
bad, but oh my God, there's a picture of him without his shirt on in the suite yesterday, and I don't even know how many necks he's collecting.
Yeah, no, that's a disappointment, to be honest with you. He was clearly on the upswing, and who knows, maybe he has just as good of a season. His talent is such that he can handle 15 extra pounds. But you want a guy like that every year to become more and more mature and take care of himself more and more. And you want him, by the time he hits like 24, 25 years old, to have like the athletic
Professional attitude.
Right. And left to his own devices for 4 months, he gained 20 pounds.
Yeah, this guy's got one job: take care of your body.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And he can't do it.
Yeah, Timmy, you had mentioned before that that Jason Tatum and Rafael Devers kind of careers just mirroring themselves, and they're very similar in age and their development and stuff. So we see a Jason Tatum who's clearly taking it to another level and very serious about his craft. The physical maturation is extraordinary for a guy right now. He's gained 20 pounds of muscle. He just looks like he belongs. And then you see Rafael Devers still doesn't get it.
You know what I think it is, Scotty? I think it's mental maturity.
Yeah.
I think that is just a sign of immaturity. Him not realizing what's going on, and that he's making his living off of his body. It hasn't clicked in for him.
That's a good point, Tim. And there's also recognition that Devers is one of the 3 best players on the Red Sox, maybe one of the 2 best.
Yeah.
And Jason Tatum's one of the 2 best players on the Boston Celtics. And one guy is taking care of his stuff like he's one of the 2 best players on his team, and the other guy isn't.
Right. Yeah, when you play third base, as we saw with Pablo Sandoval, and you're heavy and stuff, you're going to be a poor third baseman. And that's, and that's an important fielding position. Rafael Devers looks like he's improved, but if he continues to be a heavy player, he's going to wear down during the course of a long season.
Well,
and he's not going to reach his ultimate potential.
He's
And
gonna-
he's a superstar.
He's going to be moved to first base. Ultimately, he's if he keeps this up, he's going to be playing first base next year, or maybe this year.
Right.
Obviously affects his speed on the bases too.
Yeah. So we go to the Celtics, boys. The bubble is working. I mean,
It is.
literally, if we can use sports as an example of how we wish the rest of the country would act, I think everybody was shocked yesterday when they came out with the virus update of all the players were tested and not one had COVID-19. Pretty extraordinary stat.
Well, as you know, I've been pretty optimistic about the NBA, mainly because they only really have 8 regular season games plus the playoffs to play. They can do it in one site, but really they've got good leadership. They've got a good commissioner. All you need to know about the difference between the NBA and Major League Baseball is Major League Baseball has a team that has no place to play, and the season starts in 48 hours. The Toronto Blue Jays have nowhere to play.
Unbelievable.
Oh, they're playing at PNC Park.
No, they're not. That got disproved today. That the health commission said they can't play there. The Blue Jays have nowhere to play, and the NBA has no players testing positive in the bubble.
Oh, I thought they were playing in Pittsburgh.
3 hours ago, the news came out that the health commission said that they couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I know Buffalo has a nice minor league field up there. I don't know how many it fits, but
Buffalo.
How do you what's going on there? Like, how does Major League Baseball not solve that problem going into the season? But I know we're not talking about MLB, but like the NBA just they get it. They knew it.
Yeah. I mean, Toronto's
but there's stumbling blocks ahead for the NBA.
Maybe
these players are going to get pretty sick of it's at least another 3 weeks before they allow families into that bubble.
Yeah, but I mean, so far so good. All you can do is judge them on so far. And if you'd said on July 22nd that 0 players would test positive in the bubble, that's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, it's proven, look, to the whole country is that you wear masks, you social distance, you do the right things, and nobody gets sick.
I think I heard a stat the other day. They said if everyone wore a mask, this whole thing would go away in 6 weeks.
Yeah, we've seen that in other countries, and kudos to the NBA. I just think that's remarkable. And, you know, like Russ sent me a text last night. You're so excited about the season started. That news got me very excited.
Can't wait. I mean, 8 games, a little bit of seeding, get some exhibition, get some players in, and then you're right in the middle of the playoffs. It's going to be a blast. I mean, it's going to be game after game after game every day. It's going to be fun.
And the bettors seem to love the Celtics. They've been bet down from 7-point underdogs. It's 4 points now.
Really?
A 3-point swing.
I just had a pop-up on my screen here. It said MLB to expand playoffs to 16 teams.
Yeah, they're going to try anything they can to.
You can't start changing your plans now and, you know, changing horses in midstream.
So, Joe, wait a minute. So the Celtics, they're 4. You mean 4-1 or 4 point?
No, 4 points against the Bucks in that opener.
Oh, in the opener.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the national media have jumped on the Celtics bandwagon. I think now with the news that Kemba Walker will start practicing, and they think that he'll be ready for the opening night against the Bucks, makes it very encouraging moving forward as far as this season.
Who's the key to them getting, let's call it not even to the finals, but getting deep into the conference finals? Who's the key player?
I think
Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
Brown?
Yeah. The way he goes is the way I think. You know, I can count on Marcus Smart. I think I can count on Tatum and Kemba. It's Jaylen who is like the wild card, and he does have a lot of talent.
For me, it's going to be which Tatum is taking 3-pointers. Is it the Tatum, you know, the beginning of, was it last year or 2 years ago when he was leading the league?
Beginning of last year after he came back from Kobe.
Or is it going to be the other Jason Tatum who is an inconsistent 3-point shooter?
Yeah.
But that opens everything up for him if he's hitting the threes.
Yeah, I like the Jaylen Brown. I mean, look, if they get a high-end Jaylen Brown, if they get the best of Jaylen Brown, that's a team that can beat Milwaukee and make it to the finals.
Hey, when he was on his game, they remember without Kyrie and without Gordon Hayward, they went right to the finals, you know?
Yeah, we'll see Enes Kanter. I think that he started to wear out. Remember, Enes Kanter really isn't much more of a 15-minute to 20-minute guy.
Are we just discarding Hayward? Are we just discarding him?
No,
yes, please.
I think Hayward's a 15-point, per game playmaker during the playoffs. He's not gonna get you 25. He's not gonna be the best player on the court, but they'll run a lot of the offense through him. They really will, especially if Kemba's limited.
Gordon Hayward is a very good sixth man.
Yeah, Enes Kanter is the kind of guy you need on a team in this situation. A nice guy to keep the team loose. Kind of a joker, a kind of, it can't be deadly serious when you're in there in isolation.
Yeah. So, all right, we go to the Patriots, and the NFL is reeling. Look, I think the NFL has no shot of the season.
They were just hoping it was going to go away by the time they started.
Yeah, they keep on doing things. All right, so we went from 4 exhibition games to 1 exhibition game to no exhibition games. We're now down to 14 practices. 14. They have to introduce themselves in 14 practices.
It's going to be a crappy product. The first 4 weeks of the season is always trash anyways.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be the whole season is going to be rough.
Now, does this make disadvantage Belichick?
I think so,
Yeah.
Timmy. I was just going to ask you the same question. I think it advantages the teams that have continuity of system, continuity of players. Obviously, they're integrating a new quarterback, but this is a group that knows exactly what they want to do every minute of every practice.
I think it's big advantage to the Chiefs. What are they bringing back? 21 of 22 starters, and they've got the quarterback. The whole offense is the same.
Yeah.
They're going to have a big advantage over everyone else.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel bad because the guys who were undrafted free agents, ones, of course, that the Patriots, we're going to have a couple of guys that will end up contributing for this year's team. No shot of making the team with 14 practices.
Now, does this make it a more run-centric league because there's not enough time to go? The passing games are more complicated.
I think it's the opposite. I think they're going to end up passing more. It's going to be more high-powered offense, and I think the defense will be behind the offense.
No, do you think it'll be just more turnovers, more penalties, more sloppy play? Is that what you're suggesting? More sacks because the offensive line doesn't have the cookies?
Yeah, more defensive lapses, just wide open guys, and like you see in the first 4 weeks of the season, and then especially defenses start to gel as the season goes on, and that's why when you get to the playoffs, the defenses are so tough.
And it hurts the Patriots with Cam Newton. How does Cam Newton, integrate with the team with 14 practices? It's not possible.
Yeah, how does he learn his offensive linemen and his fellow backs and his wide receivers and the playbook all at the same time?
It just feels like every bit of news coming out of the NFL is negative. Every bit of news coming out of the NHL and NBA is positive. And then the Major League Baseball is just a trade.
Except for David Pasternak.
Yeah, right. Who apparently, that's a great segue, Joe. Apparently he doesn't have COVID, guys. He just needs to quarantine for 14 days because he was around somebody who did.
What moron.
Well, this is a problem because remember, he tanked us in the playoffs a couple of years ago when he went out, he got hammered and fell and
his thumb. Yeah.
This is another little bit of a Rafael Devers. Like, if you're one of the top 2 or 3 players on a team, you have a certain responsibility. You got to take care of your shit.
Who was the kid we had who we traded to Dallas? The superstar.
Tyler Seguin. I was just going to say that. That's really the Tyler Seguin story, right?
Tyler Seguin all over again here. Like, keep it in your pants. Stay in your room. They used to have to put a guard on Sagan's door at night at his hotel, I heard.
But this is where.
Well, especially around Borton's wife.
This is all of a sudden now you feel like, geez, I wish Tom Brady was on the team because the Patriots would have a lot better chance, even with a lesser Tom Brady, because of the familiarity with the system.
True.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Then you wonder how quick Newton is on the uptake,
Yeah, you figure, though, that they'll simplify it. Here's the good thing about the Patriots coaching staff is that they will create an offense and run a game plan to suit what they have, right? So they're not going to ask Newton to be Brady. They're going to let Newton do things that he's comfortable doing, because they're not stubborn coaches like the 95% of the coaches in the NFL who just want to run their own system.
Remember the NFL comes out today and says all fans have to wear masks. They're not going to have any games with fans. The Miami Dolphins aren't having 60,000 people coming to a stadium.
Well, how do you eat?
Are they delusional?
How do you eat your cheeseburger and drink your beer with the mask on?
But they don't want people. 2 people getting together. How's 60,000 getting together?
And then
Most places have a plan of sorts in place. Like I know Baltimore says they're going to allow 20% in, and everyone's going to have to socially distance. How you can enforce that, I don't know, but and most people are wearing facial coverings now, anyways.
Yeah, but Joe, when you're eating and drinking, those masks.
Oh yeah.
Look,
Oh, you pull them down around your beard there.
Yeah. Look, then you have the problem of concessions, bathrooms. That's really, it's not just, you could figure it out maybe in the stands themselves, but I don't know how you police it all the way through the entire end-to-end experience at all.
Oh, and how about even 20% when the game ends, leaving, everyone jostling to get out of the place.
You've seen
Everyone wants to be first.
You've seen the crowds at the ticket lines getting in places. It's like a cattle herd, you know.
But with canceling the only exhibition game that they were going to play, are they just afraid right now to play games?
They're afraid of the consequences if they play a game and then they're blamed. I mean, you come from a legal family. There's no disclaimer they could have you sign that's going to stand up in court.
The other is, you stick these guys into games preseason or not too soon, and you're not only you're risking COVID, but you're risking injuries. I mean, it's going to look. Let's go around. How many games do you think the NFL is going to play this year, Scott?
I don't think they get past the first month, so I'm going to say 4 games.
What about you, Timmy?
You wonder what it's going to take, like a massive outbreak with, they do a little tracking and they find out 2 weeks after a game, like 200 people test positive. I mean,
yeah, right.
What's it going to take to like blow this thing up? And I mean, will they track these things? Is there going to be any type of way to track it? I don't know.
It's a great point, Tim. I mean, I hadn't even thought about that, but say one of these states steps in and says, we tracked 200, 250, 500 people got COVID, in Buffalo. And because of a home game, we're shutting it down. Like there's no more, you can't do this anymore. So then they have to play, I don't know. I would say if they get 8 games in, I'd be shocked.
We just saw from that Biogen conference, like 50 people were in one room and it contaminated half of Eastern Massachusetts. I mean, 2 or 3 people have it at the Patriots games. God knows what's going to happen.
Well, I don't think fans will be allowed at the Patriots games right now in this state. California's already said no sporting events until next year.
If they have
and there'll be a lot of places like that.
If they have no fans, I could see them playing 8 to 10 games. If they try to have any fans, I'm talking any fans, I don't think they play. I don't think they get to 8.
I agree. There'll be some blowback, bad publicity, which is anathema to the NFL. But I think they can play like a dozen games, but there'll have to be no fans at every venue.
Absolutely. Right. You can't have that. I mean, you got to try to make it work.
Allowing the fans in. It's just too risky.
Are they just tone deaf the NFL owners? I mean, even just the Redskins thing, they finally come around to, changing the Redskins name when people have been, there's been pressure about that for years. And whether you like it or not, they should have changed it many years ago, the Redskins. And it was just because Daniel Snyder is one of the biggest assholes on the planet that they did do that. Again, it's Daniel Snyder is a Donald Sterling, and they still let him be one of the 32 owners.
Yep.
Because they have billions.
They're all those owners are like in their ivory towers that they think they're untouchable. They can't be, they're like the closest thing to royalty in the U.S. is an NFL owner.
Hey, look, they keep rehiring Roger Goodell and giving him more money every year, and that's all you need to know about the NFL owners.
Yeah, despicable. Look, it may end up, all said and done, the number 1 league out of the 4 will be the NBA. It almost feels like that right now.
I don't think there's.
How about the NHL? Being up there in Canada in isolation might work out.
No, I think it's fine. Yeah, I think the NHL is going to be fine. And those mostly Canadian hockey players, and they just love the sport and just give them case of beer every night, and they won't leave the room. Yeah,
They won't know that their girlfriend is
Play with their Hot Wheels in their room. And
yeah, right. Again, we always say this, and I'll say it again, the one sport where those guys would play for free.
Yeah.
Absolutely, no question about it. All right, well, that went quick, guys. That's our show for tonight. Want to thank the boys. Want to thank everyone behind the scenes, of course. Corbin, thank you for all your help. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune in again next Wednesday night at 6:30 for another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.